Well, good evening. It's Sunday evening, and in what I hope will get to be our standard habit, I will finish the review of last week's discussion board, or at least my first reading, every Sunday night, and then try to dive right in and give you a quick summary of what I saw there and move ahead into what I think you can expect this week. So now that we're settling into more of a pattern with this brand new course, that's what I hope to do, and so let's give it a try. As you can see, week 2 it got a little bit more substantial. The Baldrige principles were actually introduced to you, and also an example of another set of principles, Deming's, and Deming actually precedes the Baldrige. So I think you got a good feel for what the state of the quality movement is and how it's progressed a little bit, but also the depth of principle that's involved. This is not easy stuff, but in some cases it's very simple, and that's kind of almost a mantra I'm going to keep speaking about as we go forward in the course. Much of this stuff is rather simple. It really isn't easy to pull off. Now, that discussion board that I just reviewed, very, very good stuff, and I thank all of you for your contributions and your participation. And as you can see, we are not talking about easy issues, as I've just mentioned. One theme that I saw that seems to continue through quite a few of the writings of many of you, we start looking at, and you start to understand that Baldrige really does look internally to the philosophies and operations of the organization. And a recurring theme I noticed was many of us started thinking about, well, my organization values its customers, but it doesn't value those of us on the inside. We're just a piece of production material almost, right? The old cog in the machine. Yet much of Baldrige wants us to focus on that idea of the internal customer. It's the organization. It's the individuals that make it up. It's that combined effort and thought process and work and behavior. That's what makes up the ability to create a final product. And very important for us to understand that. Baldrige really does stress that. And even if you look back into Deming's work, which, as I said, is a much older piece, you can see that that work stressed what the organization and its members contributed to the end value that we were creating for the customer. So these are some very interesting things, and I'm going to be going through that in a little more detail. I'm definitely looking forward to your thoughts on what the comparing and contrasting of the Baldrige and Deming ideas are. My personal opinion, they don't contrast very much. There's a lot of comparison there and a lot of development and a lot of evolution. And those are things I think we need to understand. Now, where are we going with this week is a little bit more into one of the big things that Baldrige talks about is strategy, strategic thinking, strategic development. And I'm shying away from using those words strategic planning that we've used forever and seen forever, and moving more to the concept of strategic thinking, which is a little bit, I think, more expansive and more in keeping with ideas like the Baldrige. So what you're going to see this week are some materials on definitions of strategic thinking, habits of strategic thinking, a presentation that I developed a few years ago when I was still in the consulting practice about some leadership basics. We'll start figuring out the difference between leadership and management. Is there a difference between leadership and management? For instance, I'm going to throw a phrase out and let us think about which of those concepts does it represent. We talk about doing things right, or we talk about doing right things. Which is management? Which is leadership? Are they synonymous? Can you have one without the other? These are things I think that the Baldrige criteria demand us to think about as we move ahead and try to apply these to our businesses and to other organizations and what we see. It's, again, Baldrige is a huge process. Somebody asked me a question last week about why did I think that not a lot of companies apply to even try to get the Baldrige Award and why so few even win it. I think you're beginning to see when you look at the process that's involved, that the depth of analysis that's involved. This is very complex. It definitely challenges you to look right into the core of your operation and really understand about what you're doing. See, some quality systems, in my opinion, are about what have you done. Baldrige is more about what are you doing, why are you doing it, and why might you want to do something different. It's not a static measure of where you've been. It's almost taking a baseline of where you've been and turning it into a map for where you're going. So it's some very important stuff. I think the work that I have looked at quickly was very good this week. Please keep it up. Just some procedural issues on that, and by no means anything specific. Just remember, and I don't think there's much of an issue here with a lot of you folks, that first post needs to be substantial. Well, I saw an awful lot of substantial work, so that's just absolutely outstanding, and I want you to keep that up. If possible, and I know it's not always possible, try to get your work in, at least that initial post in, by midweek, Wednesday or Thursday at the latest. This gives us a chance to share information with each other and to challenge each other or build on each other's information. Last week was such a fantastic job. I really didn't feel that I should be sticking my nose in too much at all, and that I might have been more of an interference than a help. So let's continue to do what we're doing. Please communicate with me whenever you have a question or a comment about the course. Like I said, this is brand new. You folks are the first ones to take this course, and this course is a very important tool for us as the Baldrige School. The Malcolm Baldrige School grows and develops and continues in the traditions of the Baldrige name. And we want your input. We want your voice. So please speak up, contact me, tell me what you think of what's going on, tell me what you think could be better, tell me what you think needs to be done more of, less of, whatever. Your voice is one we need to hear. Okay, so thank you, and best of luck with this week's material. We're going to keep building together as we go, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the process. Thanks again.